Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Today is a long overdue video. It's a video I've been wanting to do for a very long time, and that is a full, in-depth, honest review of my DB9. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to do the review now is because the car is still in factory trim. The way you see it right now is exactly as it was delivered, and I'm hoping within a week or two, I'm going to start on some serious visual changes on this car. It's not going to look anything like the way it is now. So if I do the review now, well, you get it in the scale of the way the car was, the way the car is delivered, the way you might want to buy a DB9, because yes, these are borderline to affordable now. To try and explain a bit more, how about we get into it? All the negatives, all the positives, the driving experience, and everything else that comes with it. Let's get into this. Let's review this car. Let's get into it. Let's go. Now, as a very quick entry note, when I started this video, I never thought just how much material I would end up with. And I've ended up with a lot. Like a hell of a lot. And there is literally just too much for one video. So I'm going to split this video into 3 separate parts. Hopefully that way it's a lot more watchable for you. Honestly, there's a lot to cover and I could talk about this car for a long time. In the meantime, let's get back to it. Let's get on with the review. Let's go. This is my Aston Martin DB9. It is a 2006 model. It is the automatic. I know a lot of you are going to cringe to that, but it is not an ordinary automatic. This is the 6-speed ZF automatic gearbox. You can put this into a fully manual mode. It is not the 4-speed slush box. At the very same time, this car, it's kind of second generation. The early run of these cars from 2004 and 2005 had some slight differences that were not quite so perfect. And in 2006, they changed it. This car has slightly different wheels. It has a slightly different dash. It has a few little features here and there that explain why this car is a little bit better than those early generation cars that had a bucket load of problems with them. Now, this car still has problems, but they're a little bit less risky. Now, this car is absolutely filthy at the moment, but the paint code for this car is what's known as Onyx Black. It's a very opal-like color. It has a lot of different kind of flakes, metallic flakes in the paintwork itself. It makes it extremely sparkly, if you like, but very, very discreet. It is a fantastic color. As far as blacks go, it's an absolutely fantastic black. It looks brilliant, but it is black. The interior of this car is almost entirely what's called sandstone leather. It's effectively a very light beige color. It is fantastic and it offsets the black brilliantly. Now, to complement the Onyx Black on the outside and the sandstone leather on the inside, we have what's called obsidian black in various places on the inside of this car, particularly on what's known as the waterfall feature. That's the feature which runs down here. Now typically in DB9s, this is a water effect, but it is not in this car. It is effectively a gloss black, but it's very high quality. I've not had any issue with this. It looks fantastic. It complements the interior extremely well, and I just don't think wood would work in here at all. This looks absolutely amazing. It's 3 main colors that just work brilliantly. And it doesn't quite end there, because as you can imagine, Aston don't stop just here and there. They go nuts on everything. And the doors are no exception. As you can see, the doors are fully coated in leather everywhere. And this is not plastic. There is virtually no plastic on the interior of this car. This is actual aluminium, single piece, cut out. It looks amazing, it feels amazing, and everything is either aluminium or leather. There's just no plastic on it. Wheels wise, this car runs some pretty decent wheels, especially when you consider it was from 2006. Now all around the car we have 19-inch wheels. On the front we're running 235/40 R19s, and on the rears, well, factory, these are big rear tires. Again, especially for 2006. These are 275 35 R19s. Whoever last bought tyres for this car, well, they did a pretty good job. They've gone and fitted Michelin Pilot Sport 5S's. They're excellent tyres for performance. They're not so good for sound, and they're sure as hell not that good in ice and snow conditions. But for what we use it for at this point, they have been excellent. One particular negative is almost so bad it's hilarious, and that's these right here. The sun visors, they are a joke. They are absolutely useless in this car. They are tiny. At absolute best, you get about that much, and all they do is fold up and down. They don't fold out. They are literally fixed where they are. They're also kind of flimsy. I really hate this design. I do not know what Aston was thinking with it, because there's almost no point to having these things there. They are absolutely stupid, and they guarantee you're going to need sunglasses more than the sun visor. Another really annoying feature about this car, and this is one that a lot of people don't pick up on until they've generally bought it, and it applies to the early DB9s. Now, this is sort of second generation DB9, but it still has the problem, and the problem is a design issue. For whatever reason, Aston Martin decided that in their center console, they would not fit any storage. This does not open. You can't open it. There is no center storage anywhere along here. All you've got is this little trinket box, barely big enough for the keys. And it's leather lined, so you don't want to put anything sharp or nasty in there. It's a terrible design for fitting anything along here, because you can't store anything. There's nowhere to stand anything. There's nowhere to sit anything. This secondary trinket box here, well, you couldn't do anything with it. It's just too small, and you couldn't fit drinks in it. You couldn't fit anything in it. And again, leather lined. You put anything sharp in there, you start tearing it up, just like this one down here. Unfortunately, there is no storage in the center part of this car. Another big negative, you might be tempted to think, well, you've got 2 seats in the back of this thing. It's actually a 4-seat car, 2 plus 2. No, it is definitely not a 2 plus 2. It might be that on paper. There is no rear seats in this car. I know what it looks like. I can assure you they're not rear seats. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're looking at it thinking, no, I can actually see seats in the back. Well, what you're seeing is leather padded areas, but the capacity to actually put someone in it is not possible. You are not getting anyone in the back seats of this car. You're not even going to get small children in the back of this car. It is not a 2 plus 2. It is a 2 plus 2 in name only. It needed to be a GT car. At the time, to be a GT car, it needed to be 2 plus 2. So they're token seats. They're not real. You can't actually sit in them. Nobody can get in the back seats of this car. If you tried, you're going to break your back, and your legs are going to get amputated in the process. They're there for other reasons, nothing to do with putting people in them. There are no rear seats in this car. Now, I'm going to talk on a point that has both a kind of duality to it. It's both positive and negative, depending on your perspective and your point of view, and a lot of other factors. So what I'm talking about is the typical attitudes, the typical community nature of the Aston ownership group. For a very long time, the typical Aston Martin owner, well, I don't like to use the word dull, but I cannot think of another word for it. The kind of people who, if you said you were going to do anything bright on it, they would likely yell at you. These are the kind of people that would throw you out of a club if you put a red sticker on your car. The typical old world Aston Martin owner, they hate cars which aren't discreet. They hate cars that are loud, and they hate owners who like cars which are loud and bright. And that's a real problem for people like me, because the traditional owners look at me and say, you shouldn't be here. Now, this attitude is still pretty prevalent in a lot of older clubs and a lot of shops. You can still run into this kind of old world, who the hell are you? This is an elite car. You're not, get out kind of thing. Selective, very highbrow. It was that elitism that so many people these days don't like. The good news is it's changing. It's changing dramatically and quickly, but you still find some of that old attitude in there. Now, another negative, which is very obvious, this car's from 2006, so all of its information technology, its entertainment system, all of that is absolutely useless. It's so out of date or simply non-existent compared to modern cars. This car does have sat-nav in it. The only problem is it is appallingly bad. I mean, it is just unusable. It does look cool. It does rise up from the dash like that, but forget about touchscreens. You can't use it. It's far too far to reach, even if it was. So converting this to Android Auto, it's just pointless. It's stupid because you can't reach it to do it in the first place. And it's so old and so small, you just can't use it anyway. So this system, yeah, it's utterly old and redundant. And the same goes for the radio system. It works, but you're really better off to just abandon the whole thing altogether. The radio's so old that you're going to have trouble actually using it. The rest of it's generally okay. You can use heating, air conditioning, all of that sort of thing without a problem. And there's loads of buttons all over here. Really good stuff, but unfortunately, it's dark ages in here. This is proper stepping back in time, and you can't use really any of it. Another little quirky negative of this car is the glove box. The glove box is, well, it's barely a glove box. It is literally pretty much unusable. The very first problem you run into with this glove box is how do you open it? Because there's no pull switch anywhere on any part of it. You can't actually pull it to open it. The only thing you've got is this almost hidden button here, which is, yes, electronic. This is an electronically open glove box. So if you do actually find the button, you can push it and then you can barely get your fist in there. There's no room in this for anything. And on top of that, if this loses power for any reason, you can't open the glove box. There's no manual way to open it. It auto locks as soon as the power's gone. It's utterly useless. Now, here's another odd, quirky little problem with an Aston Martin. This is a UK-built car, primarily for the UK market, and yet, for some reason, they decided to put the fuel tank on the passenger side, which doesn't make a lot of sense. You're the driver, you want to get out, you want to fill it up on this side, but the fuel tank is on the other side. Okay, so you get out of the car, you're now wandering around, you got to open the fuel cap and you think, how does this open? Why does this not open? You'll push on the cap and realize that's not how it opens. You'll also notice there's no keys for it. You're trying to think, how do I get this thing open? Now, if you're a new Aston Martin DB9 owner, you're probably going to spend the next 10 minutes at the service station looking like a complete idiot, wandering around the car, trying to figure out how to get the fuel cap open. Because Aston Martin decided they wanted to play hide and seek with the way you open the fuel cap. It's fairly well hidden. If you don't know, you could spend an eternity looking for it. Yes, it's in the owner's manual, which is where a lot of people end up going, because let me show you where it is. To open the fuel cap on this car, it's electric. There's a button for it. And the button is down under here. You've got to reach well underneath the dash and find that little hidden button. And if you don't see it, well, you're never getting that fuel cap open. It's another very annoying little thing about this car. The bonnet or hood release for this car is on the passenger side. Now that's the driver's side in the US, but for a car that's made in the UK, for the UK, why they put it on the passenger side makes no sense. But they did, just like with the fuel cap, they put it on the wrong side. My obvious thinking is that Aston Martin really wanted to sell most of these cars to the US market. Okay, arguably the biggest negative with this car, well, it's related to costs. And it's one of the reasons why, if not the reason, so many people don't want these, and possibly why they devalue so much. If you're not prepared to put the work in, it's going to be horrendously expensive. You see, if you don't have the passion for this car, if you don't have the enthusiasm to want to learn about it, to work with it, to find ways around any of the problems, if for people who really shouldn't have these cars, they're going to find it extraordinarily expensive, because the first thing they're going to do is drive off to Aston Martin, and Aston Martin charge Aston Martin prices. And it doesn't matter whether you're in the latest and greatest Aston Martin or whether you're in the cheapest one in the country, they're going to charge you the same rates. The parts are enormously expensive when you go through Aston Martin. It's an all too common story you see a lot in the Aston community. Someone who's not really a car person sees a car like this on a car lot and thinks, ooh, that's a lot cheaper than I thought. I could have myself an Aston Martin for cheaper than a new car. Oh, I'm into that. So they then rush into it. The salesman gives them all the speech. They buy themselves an Aston Martin. They drive it home and everything's fantastic. They may even take it out, show it off to their friends. Not really a car person. They've just got themselves an Aston Martin and they're out having fun with it. And then they realize, well, maybe I should get it serviced, or worse, something will go wrong. And the only thing that they know how to do is take it to a dealership. And they'll take the car off to the dealer and all hell breaks loose. And they walk into the dealership and the dealer says, yeah, no problem, we'll fix your car. Here's a bill for more than you bought it for, because there's so much wrong with it. And there won't actually be that much wrong with it. It's just that Aston Martin is so pedantic that they will want to fix even the smallest of blemishes. And that person gets a whopping bill that they just don't know what to do with. So there they are, they've bought their Aston Martin, something small's gone wrong with it, or they've just needed to get a service, and they suddenly realize, wow, the price of doing that is huge. And then they think to themselves, well, what am I going to do with it? I can't afford to maintain it. So they sell it back onto the market very quickly. That is that very common story we see. Now that creates a kind of negative image for the car, because what happens is anybody who's ever had anything to do with them has always heard a story about someone who bought an Aston Martin and then couldn't afford to maintain it, because that's what they think is the truth. And it's not necessarily correct at all. It's just the reputation from so many people buying these cars and not realizing you need to really, really get involved with them. Next up is a very common problem in the community for pretty much anything Aston Martin. Unfortunately, there's a lot of shops who will exploit the hell out of owners for profit. Now, it's not every shop. There are loads of good places you can find which will service, maintain, look after your Aston, and they'll do it at really good prices. Well, the best that they can, and they're not going to exploit you. Unfortunately, for every one of those shops, it's probably a good 2 or 3 which are not like that at all. Now, it's actually important to realize that a lot of these shops, they don't do it for profiteering. Now, that sounds crazy, I know. They're setting up this scheme to get you in and get thousands out of you to fix a problem. But here's the thing, some of these shops are extremely pedantic. They're part of that traditionalist old world Aston club. And their attitude is things need to be absolutely perfectionist, absolutely perfect at all times without any risk whatsoever. So as far as they're concerned, they really do believe some of these cars are ticking time bombs. And the smallest little imperfection needs to be fixed in the most complicated, most elaborate, most expensive ways there are. So some of these shops, they're not trying to rip you off. They just really believe that they know so much better about a car that they've got so wrong. It's just their attitude of old world perfectionism and pedantism. You can't get around it. And you need to be very careful with some of these shops, because yes, you can end up going to a shop and spending thousands and thousands, if not tens of thousands, fixing problems which may not be an actual problem at all. Another little negative thing, and this is again a bit of a quirk of ownership that a lot of owners fall into after they've bought one, and that is that, well, they've gone out and bought themselves an Aston Martin and they love it. They think the car's absolutely fantastic, and then they go to town on it, like paintwork protection and restoring the wheels and fixing it up, and they end up with a absolutely perfect example of the car. And a lot of that's driven by the traditionalist community insisting the car has to be absolutely perfect. It can't ever be dirty, and you can't ever have any flaws in it. And if there are, you have to spend immense amounts fixing it. Now, when you do that, it results in a bit of a problem. Problem is that a lot of owners who end up in that situation with their now perfect Aston, they don't want to drive it. They don't want to take it out. They don't want to do anything with it. And they go down a whole path of turning them into kind of collector's cars in climate-controlled garages, and they never see any life outside of the garage. And it's a trap that a lot of owners fall into, because it's kind of where the community will sort of push you into if you let it. You've really got to think outside the box, move away from the traditional ownership, because if you go down that path, you'll just end up with a garage queen that's absolutely flawless, has cost you an enormous amount of money, and you'll never see anything back from it, nor will you ever get any rewards from driving it. Next up, you have to remember these kind of cars, these are coach-built cars. They're handmade. And this car is a perfect example of it. It really is handmade. When you start getting into working on this thing, you can tell there's been a lot of human hands putting this together. It is far more human-made than machine-made. Now, that does present a little bit of a problem. That hand-built element of it, well, it creates a lot of variability in it. No two cars are really exactly the same ever. And just because you watch a video on how someone fixed one problem, doesn't mean it's going to work that way for you. It doesn't necessarily mean your car is going to match that at all. It's a coach-built car. The variability between cars is staggering. You can't just assume that because you've got problem A, you can solve it the same way someone else did. It's a bit annoying. Every single problem with an Aston needs to be treated in some ways like a unique problem to that unique car, and you have to be a detective for it. Now, for me, this is a negative. Boot space. You see, the problem with this car is, again, it's trying to be a halfway blend between a really hardcore sports car and a hardcore GT cruiser. This car wants to be the best of both worlds, and that's impossible. You can't be a hardcore sports car and a hardcore luxury cruiser at the same time. This car tries to do the best of both, and the boot's a great example. See, the boot space is, well, tiny by my standards. There is nothing in this boot. You can barely fit anything in it. However, it's better than most ordinary supercars with their front trunks. You will get more in this than you will in them, no question, especially when you use the rear seat. So the storage is there, but it's very inaccessible. And the boot is just so small. Your standard luggage will not fit in here. If you've got standard suitcases, you're not getting them in here. There's no room in there. And especially if you like to carry stuff, this is a tiny, tiny boot that Aston really just didn't put enough effort into. Because here's the funny thing, there is a ton of space in this car. There is a huge amount of space when you look down over here. It's all just sort of wasted. This boot could have been immensely deeper had they actually planned it out better, but they didn't, and it's small, and it's a huge negative. Next up is storage of the car itself. You see, the design of these cars, there are things about it which are frustrating, and one of the most is the fact that they're battery hogs. And on top of that, Aston kind of knew a lot of them would go into long-term storage. Now, Aston Martin worked out that's a pretty bad combo. So what they did was, in the boot, they fitted a trickle charge point, and they supplied the kit to do it. So you can actually connect this up to a kind of battery conditioner, battery charger, and you can leave it on permanently, and it will keep the battery topped up so you don't run into battery problems. There's just a couple little catches with it. First off, it's in the boot, and it's really fiddly to get to. If you've got stuff in your boot like this, well, it's kind of hard to get to. So you've got to make sure the boot's fairly free and accessible so that you can get your trickle charge point in there. Otherwise, you can't reach it. And it creates another big problem. You see, Aston worked out that if you're going to do this long term, for example, a car that gets stored away for, say, 3 months, you need to disconnect the battery to really make it work. So they put in a battery disconnection switch. It's a switch in the boot, which when you press it, it pretty much disconnects the battery. And as you can imagine, when you do that, all goddamn hell breaks loose. So logically, you're probably thinking, well, you better put that button somewhere really, really difficult to get to. You don't want to push it by accident. You should put it somewhere really restrictive, somewhere with some protective coverings, somewhere perhaps with a protected covering that you've got to flip first. Make sure you don't push that button, because if you push that button and you kill the battery, well, you've got to go through major recalibration of the car after you reconnect the battery. So yes, you'd be forgiven for thinking that should be put somewhere very safe. Well, that's not what Aston thought. Because yes, Aston Martin thought the opposite. And they thought to themselves, where can we put a button that, if pressed, is going to cause all kinds of electrical hell for the owner? Oh, we know, we'll put it in the way of the trickle charger. Yep, if you are connecting the trickle charger to this car, you've got to be immensely careful, even if the boot is empty, because if you accidentally brush this button, and I mean just brush, I know because I've done it, you will disconnect the battery. It is a major bad design flaw. Why they put it there makes no sense. And if you've got a full boot like this, these are tools, because I carry around a tool set at the moment and I need to keep them in the car for the time being. And I keep them over this side where the recess is for the tool kit, which is the same spot where the trickle charger is, and in front of that is the button for the battery disconnect. If I'm not careful, every single time I can risk disconnecting this car. Even packing the boot in this car risks hitting that battery disconnection switch. If you have hit that button, the process of getting the car back into life again is absolutely annoying as hell and heavily involved. So you don't want to press it. And yet for some reason, Aston put it in pretty much the worst place they could. Go figure. Here in the dash, we have another annoying little quirk of this car, and that is the transmission buttons. As you can see, they're mounted on the upper portion of the dash: park, reverse, neutral, drive, and the engine start. Now these look cool. I'll tell you right now, this looks amazing. I love the way this looks, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's easy to use, and I really, really do like it. But there is a problem. Whoever designed these buttons, I think there was something wrong with their hands, because you see, they're really easy to half push. Now, if you do something like that, if you accidentally push a button, which can happen, the road might be bumpy, you might not be looking, if you accidentally sort of half push a button or the wrong button, the car goes absolutely mental. It has a total and complete meltdown. I've done it on a couple of occasions. You will get every single warning light you can. And then it gets really funny. You'll end up getting alerts all over the place, and you will think you have catastrophic damage. Well, you don't. All you have to do is stop, turn the car off, lock it, wait maybe 30 seconds, turn it back on, and everything is back to normal. In fact, you can then take a code reader to the car, and you simply won't find a code. It's happened a number of times in this car. This car has no codes, but I can induce one just by pushing a button a little half-heartedly just at idle. Now, there is, for me, one very big negative about the tyres on this car, and that is that, unfortunately, because of the sizes of them, they're very, very hard to get all weathers or winters for this car. It's extremely difficult. It's really a car that I think from design was expected to be a summer car only, because trying to get anything else is a nightmare. I know, because I tried to get all weathers or at least winters for this car, and there was virtually none. Quite seriously, very, very hard to find any. And when I did find them, what I ended up having to do was choose one brand for the rears and a separate brand for the front. And you would end up literally mixing and matching fronts to rears. And there was just no other way around it. Now, that really isn't that big an issue, but I'd rather just have one brand of tire around the whole thing. But for all weathers or winters, I was pretty much going to have no choice but to mix and match. In the end, we didn't have to do that. We had a very, very mild winter, and we were able to get away with these tires. We never really hit much snow and ice, but I probably will in the future. So it's going to be a battle to find tires for this car, because a big negative, you just can't find all weathers or winter tires for this car with any amount of ease. And when you do, start thinking big money, because you can't skimp on tyres, and when you're doing it in mix and match ways, it's going to cost the earth. Now, subscribers will know the negative point I'm about to talk about because of where I'm sat. I pointed this out in another video. Just like any car, these seats flip forward. You pull a catch and the whole thing's come forward. For some reason, Aston Martin decided to put the latch for these, the flip switch if you like, the catch, all the way down at the base of the seat. And it is a pain in the butt to get to. The problem is it's actually two hands to do it. And if you're carrying bags, it's not just open the door, latch, throw the bag in. You got to put the bag down. You have to fiddle around with it because it's not quick, just click, click, done. It's a case of open the door, put your bag down, fiddle with this for a minute, get it right, and then put your bag in. I just don't know what Aston were thinking by putting the latch for this all the way down at the bottom of the door. Mercedes put it up here on the top, which makes sense because you've got a leverage point. You pull it there and the seat comes forward. In this, you've got to pull this and nothing happens because the seat won't flip forward on its own. It needs a hand. So you've got to actually lift the catch with one hand. You've got to then pull the seat with the other, and you can't really do it with the bag because you're going to be smashing into the window. It's a terrible, terrible design. Another big annoyance with these seats. Aston Martin clearly never really sort of tested them. They never put somebody and said, go drive for 1,000 miles and see what this is like. Because if they had, they would have put someone in this seat who would have done exactly what happens here. Now, I've had passengers in this car, and unfortunately, more than one of them, despite not necessarily being big people, like to push the seat all the way back. Why? I don't know. They just find it comfortable. I don't. I think this is way too far back, but I've had more than one person in this car now who shoves the seat all the way back. And when that happens, it begins rubbing. You get the leather of this seat rubbing on the leather of the back seat, and the damn thing squeaks to no end. And I've got to work out a way to get some protection in between so that the next time somebody gets in this car and shoves it all the way back, it won't squeak so much all the time. The handbrake is also another pain in the butt. You see, the problem with the handbrake being where it is you don't see it. It's not in your face and you can forget about it. And with this car's power, you can drive off and never realize that you've got the handbrake on. Now, there's a warning system in place for when that happens. You drive off and the car will start beeping at you, and it will beep at you and beep and beep, and it literally will not shut up. And almost nothing you can do to shut it up. And I mean almost literally nothing. Obviously, I know this because I've done it. I've gotten in the car, tried to drive it quickly, realized the handbrake's on, the car starts beeping at me, and then you think to yourself, well, I'll just take the handbrake off. It doesn't stop it. You've got to go through a whole get out, stop, turn the engine off, make sure the handbrake's in the right position, lock it, wait, unlock it, get in, reset the handbrake, and then it will stop. The first few generation DB9s came with this horrible, horrible tire pressure management system. Now, at the time it was advanced. Not a lot of cars had this, but Aston did. But the big negative of it is it's near enough to useless. It's in the boot. Yes, the display system for it is in the boot and connects to the dash in an overtly elaborate and complicated way. So, for example, you're driving down the motorway and suddenly the light comes on to say, hey, you've got a tire problem. You've got to find somewhere to pull over. You then have to go into the boot, you have to check the color, and then you have to walk around the car to figure out which color is for that sensor. Get the idea. It's a palaver. And at the end of the day, if your tire's going flat, your tire's going flat. The tire management sensor's just told you the bleeding obvious that really doesn't help. Now, I've already bought an aftermarket tire pressure monitoring system for this car, and it's so much better, and it wasn't even expensive. This old system is worthless. It's a waste of your time. And what's worse, just like pretty much all cars, including modern cars, the batteries in the sensors in the tires, they only last about 7 years. In this car, they died a long time ago, so the system just doesn't work. And to be honest, I don't care. It doesn't work, it's useless, and I'd rather use this uprated system. And at the same time, if you do have a flat, well, you've got another big problem. Because this is another major negative. Let's say you've had a puncture on the freeway or the motorway or wherever you are, and you need to get back on the road. And your tire's in tatters. Well, you've got a bit of an issue because you're going to get out, you're going to go to the boot, you're going to open it up, and you're going to say, there's no space in there for a spare tire. Where is it? You're then going to look around the car a bit and start thinking, oh no, uh-oh, hang on. Is there a spare tire in this car? And the answer is going to be no. Because as I pointed out, Aston never thought about storage very well in this car. It was definitely more an artistic build than a functional one. If you have a tire puncture, you better hope that your tire repair kit is enough to fix it, because if it's not, it's recovery. Now, another annoyance on this car is the parking sensors. First off, on this car, yeah, they're broken. They do commonly fail, and they're in sequence. So one failing causes everything to fail. The whole system fails when one has a problem. And it's a little worse than that. Because I use the word system, and there really isn't a system. There's just rear parking sensors. There are no front parking sensors on this car. Now, maybe Aston are like all car enthusiasts. We all reverse into our car spots. But for whatever reason, I would like front parking sensors on the car, especially with a car that's got such a long front end. It just seems crazy that you would put rear parking sensors on it and then just ignore the front. But that's what they did. Now, in later versions, and obviously many other Aston Martin and many other models, Aston Martin did put front sensors on, but this generation, and very commonly, never had anything other than rear sensors that fail a lot. That's another big negative. Now, there is a very stupid negative with the boot, and this is a really frustrating one because it just doesn't need to be this way, but a very common complaint from new Aston owners is that their boot's not working. They go to open their boot like this and it doesn't pop up, and they'll sit there and complain and say, hey, I think something's wrong with my boot. The struts or the springs or whatever, it's not happening. I click the button and it doesn't pop up. I have to forcibly push it all the way up to get it to open. Well, guess what? That's design. That's literally how Aston Martin designed it. Yes, Aston Martin didn't sit there and say to themselves, well, you know, it'd be nice if you push the button and it just opens, you know, like a luxury boot. Instead, they thought, no, we want people to get some exercise and open the boot with their hand every single time. Why they couldn't just uprate the gas struts, which is an aftermarket option, and then have the boot popping up from Aston Martin? It just seems nuts. It's an opportunity they missed, and it was perfectly available technology at the time. Why it's not there, I don't know. The final problem I'm going to highlight with the trunk or the boot, and this is a problem, again, most new owners run into, and you don't realize this is normal, but you see, when you close the boot, unfortunately, to actually close it, you have to let it drop, and it is loud. Now, you might think, oh God, I've damaged the car, but if you go and read your owner's manual, you'll read the part where it says, that's exactly what's supposed to happen, is just drop it, it will make a loud latching sound, and the boot's closed. And the same on the bonnet. You're expected to literally just sort of drop the things to a loud bang. Another really silly little vanity point, and this is a very minor negative, but I don't understand again what Aston was thinking. You see, they go to town on making this car look absolutely phenomenal. It looks amazing. They go to great lengths to make sure this car just looks staggeringly good. And they fitted this flush door handle. It all looks wonderful, but for some reason, they put an actual keyhole next to it in bright silver, and it's not capped. Why this isn't color-coded with a cap on it makes no sense. It's this silver dot that stands out like anything just on the side of the car. And once you see it, you kind of can't unsee it. So I've got plans to color code that over with the wrap, but yeah, I don't know what Aston were thinking with that. It's just sort of wrong. Okay, we're going to wind up part 1 there. Make sure you subscribe because part 2 should be tomorrow night, aka Friday night, and part 3 should hopefully come out on the Saturday night. We'll have to see how the schedule goes. I'll post up a community post. I'll put it on Facebook if there are any changes, but the target goal right now is to get a video out on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Not Sunday, because Sunday's the day all the big gun YouTube channels come out and anything I put out just gets destroyed. So launching anything on a Sunday is just pointless. Even on a Saturday is very tedious. For me, I have to target other times when I can actually have a chance in hell of people watching the videos. Anything on the weekend is really hard to get an audience for. For now, that's the end of part 1. Again, subscribe for part 2. You'll get to see it tomorrow night, and I'll catch up with you in the video at that time. Simon out.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time